All right, we are live. Welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It is office hours. Hey there, Andrew. How are things?
Hey, pretty good. We're back at home, obviously.
Back at
After,
home, back on Wednesday. It's very
back.
confusing to have it on a Tuesday last week, but absolutely worth the effort.
Oh, totally agree. So far, the feedback's been pretty good about last week from what I've seen, and I was very excited. I really appreciate everybody that was able to join us, not only in person but also online. It ended up being a office hours, literally,
Yeah.
almost a couple hours we went.
Yeah, and again, a special thanks to Adam Gross that joined us and basically carried the event forward at the conference. I was like, thank you so much.
Oh, so much fun to have him. And you're right. I mean, he did a fantastic couple of lulls in the conversation, and Adam was there to get us going again. It was awesome. So thank you, Adam.
All right. So, Andrew, good sir, what you have been up to, or what have you been up to?
Well, it's maybe not so surprisingly been another busy week in the community. If you want to share my screen, I've got a couple of things to share from some usual suspects have been putting out some great content the last week, I would say.
I mean, to a point, I think it's pretty rude for the globe to continue to spin while we are going to conference, and then you come back, you have like a pile of stuff that just
I
they
know.
turn out the world didn't stop while we were away. It just continued. It's normal. I guess it's a good thing.
I suppose so. They
The
never asked our
spinning,
permission, though.
no, it's something with gravity and stuff spinning. It's good.
I think so. We'd be in a world of hurt if it wasn't. Um, do you want to? Are you able to full screen the?
I have that power invested in me. Yes.
I
Let's see
thought you
here.
might. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So first thing that I came across, fairly short and sweet post, but it does have a PowerShell script in here. Damien, who we have showcased 1,000 times on here because he's always coming up with some really cool solutions, put together a remediation script to add a device to an Entra ID group through Intune, which I thought was really cool. I can think of a couple of interesting use cases where as soon as the device is checking in, we're relying on the device itself and an Azure automation account to go and add it itself essentially to a group rather than relying on the backend mechanisms with something like a dynamic device group, for example. So thank you, Damien, for putting this together. I'm really looking forward to actually trying this out. Also came across a two-part so far. I don't know if there's going to be more, but a two-part blog post from our good friend Gary Block has been blogging about the Dell Command update solution. So he's been putting some PowerShell functions around Dell Command Update or DCU. So for those of you that are a Dell shop, and want to work with that particular package from Dell, definitely recommend taking a look at what Gary's been writing about over the last week. So there are two different posts I mentioned first. The first one here is basically how to get some of the information about Dell PCs under the hood. And then the second one here is actually installing and managing Dell Command Update itself through some of these functions that Gary's written. So just fantastic stuff as always from Gary. Again, there's a lot of my home labs full of some Dell equipment, and a lot of folks that Johan and I have been working with have Dell. So definitely looking forward to this as well. And last but not least, something that a reference that I feel like you and I need to add to our toolbox here, Johan. We get asked often, as many of us in the community do, about moving to Entra native join. And this is one of those things where I don't want to spoil the entire blog post by any stretch, but it was just fantastic writing. Martin Himkin put together this post on the journey to native Entra join. And I really wanted to call out the very first sentence he put in here, because it's a great statement to make going through this. If you think you need a domain joined device to access a file share after this blog, I did something wrong. So fantastic writing here, Martin. Thank you for putting this together. You can see some of the things that he does go through here. These are the most common things that we're seeing, right, when you're going to a native Entra join, or common concern. How do I connect to the network? How do I deal with my applications? How do I deal with group policies, file shares, that sort of thing? So obviously, I was very excited to come across this blog post as well. But yeah, those are the few things that I came across over the last week.
But it's a timely topic. Practically every other session or even discussion last week at the MMS conference, it was related to different ways to migrate off or coexist even an on-premises environment together with another identity, in this case Entra, and moving policies and moving applications and moving software updates, and is for us what is right, what is wrong, how can we do this? So that was it's great to see the interest of doing it, and I'm so happy that organizations are actually taking their time researching this, investing in this, instead for just full-blown 100 kilometers an hour speed ahead without any sort of afterthought. So it's good to see that people are taking their time to research what's available, how it works, and how they can move forward, what makes sense for them. Because there is no such thing as a single scenario that matches every single company on the planet. It's one of those lovely, it depends. For some organizations, it's like, all right, you should definitely go forward moving this. For you guys, wait a minute, take a step back even, and then go forward again.
Exactly. Well said. Couldn't agree more.
All right. So I only have one thing, but this is something that we mentioned last week, and I've been so excited about this. In fact, so excited, so I tried it out even before it was really ready. But it is connected cache that I'm talking about. So I'm going ahead and share my screen. Earlier today, Microsoft lighted up some of the new connected cache functionality in Azure. So it's a standalone connected cache server for education and enterprise. We mentioned, I believe, last week that there was some discussions on MMS regarding this, because we have both Andy Rivas and Carmen with us at the conference. They had a session on this, and during that session, they announced that this is going to be available today. So fair enough, today it did show up in my Azure portal, and of course I fairly quickly created a resource group, and I started to play around with, what can I do with connected cache here? So I created myself a connected cache, and I started to connect a few cache nodes that I have. It does support Windows Server, Windows Client, and Linux to host this cache content. I decided to pick 2 Windows 11 devices to run this. Right now, I cannot provision them because that part is still being published. I got a confirmation from Andy like half an hour ago, like, sit tight, sir. We are publishing this as we speak. I'm like, okay then, but I wanted to do this now. But I have to wait a few hours. I can live with that. But basically, you will have your machines in here, and you will download the provisioning package, and you will provision them so they will show up as cached servers or cached content. Technically, behind the scenes, and we will share these links with you, the connected cache for this particular scenario, enterprise and education, there is no dependency on ConfigMgr whatsoever. It's a container running on top of either Windows or Linux. So in Windows, of course, it is, and this is the keyword here, it's a Docker compatible container. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. The keyword is compatible. It does not require a Docker license. There were some people that were concerned about that early on. It's like, all right, but we are actually a large company. We have more than 250 clients, and then we need a Docker license. But no, you do not. This is a free container, free to use, all that good stuff. So really nice to see that. So hopefully we'll be able to give you more insight, next Wednesday. But I just want to show you guys this. I was so excited to see this showing up in the environment. So very, very cool.
Well, you've only waited a few years for it, so it's very exciting.
Close to 4 years.
Wow.
Tupant that I work for, also work for. I have multiple homes. Been part of the private preview for many, many years. So it's so nice to see this come home.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
All right. What questions do we have out there?
Well, it looks like we've got a couple of hellos. First and foremost, Gary is joining us. So, hey, Gary, thanks for joining. Glad thanks again for putting those blog posts together. Appreciate it. And Akos, I did finish that Toblerone, so thank you very much for handing that off to Johan. I really appreciate it. And I say Matt here as well. So, hey, Matt, thanks for joining us. So first question in here actually comes from Akos over on YouTube. After an in-place upgrade, how can I force the clients to update the features on demand via connected cache server in a ConfigMgr environment? These updates can take hours until the clients are grabbing the content from the internal DP or the connected cache server.
Well, it depends on I mean, if you have a traditional ConfigMgr server where you put your updates in ConfigMgr packages, basically. So you have deployment packages where you have the content. They are going to be downloaded by the client using bits. So if you need to peer content, you have to do branch cache for those. It doesn't use DO in the same sense as a normal client would. If you move the software update workload over to Intune, then it will. And you can either use ConfigMgr to point the clients to which cache server to use. There are options in, I think I have it set up. It might be in this environment. Let me take a look. I think one of these DPs have a connected cache server. No, I did not. It's on the other server, of course. If I had two, I would pick the wrong one.
What? Multiple ConfigMgr sites in a lab?
I have 4 of them. As you do. Yeah, so this one has a connected cache server. So you can use boundaries and boundary groups and client settings to stamp which cache server to use in a ConfigMgr environment. And it will work for all content that is cacheable in that cache server. And Phil that I work with, he has a post on which content that is cacheable and which content that is not cacheable. So if you go to one of our blogs from earlier, let's see where he put that one. Here. This blog post shows how contents have changed over time. Basically, in 2023, what content was peering and cacheable, and what has changed in 2024, and what content is peerable and cacheable. And Microsoft, of course, is looking to add in more and more content to this solution as time goes by, or to support this. But if you have a cache server, it doesn't matter if it's a ConfigMgr cache server or the standalone cache server that is managed through Azure. As long as that content is in there, the client can be redirected to that cache server and use it. You can either do it through Intune policies, you can do it through group policies, but the challenge is often, say that you have a network environment that is distributed, and you have cache servers a little bit everywhere on a few clients. Just take that as a scenario. You can use regular scope options also, DHCP, to tell clients where to use. In ConfigMgr is easier because ConfigMgr knows about network. That's the point with ConfigMgr boundaries and boundary groups. Intune, it does not know about networks. And it will be pretty painful to try to target, say that you have 5,000 subnets, to create like 5,000 policies in Intune to point it to different cache servers in different locations. For those scenarios, it's easier to simply have a discussion with the network folks and say, hey, you already have scope options set for every network. Can you add in a line or two to tell it to use a cache server also? So quite doable. This is all well documented on the delivery optimization reference page, but this is how you would do it. So yeah, long rant for a short question.
Excellent stuff. Jesse's got a question for us here. Any reason why we haven't opened up a Discord group?
Well, half of us is kind of active on Discord, and that half is not me. That would be Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, on the Discord side of things, the WinAdmin's Discord server is a fantastic resource. Gosh, last I looked, I think there were maybe 13,000 registered members. A little less active, unless it's around conference time, is the MMS Discord server as well. So for us, primarily, I would say, the community that we've put together on the Academy page has been kind of what we've been focused on. Sort of a different venue than a Discord server.
Yeah, this one here that we have showcased a few times, this is usually where we recommend folks to point questions or post questions that here for office hours, or to post questions around, Intune, ConfigMgr, MDT, and others in a forum. Yep. But I'm trying to be active on Reddit. I don't always make a I cannot spend as much time as I want at times, but I try to be active there and answer questions. I do hang out on social media networks like LinkedIn and Twitter, or now X. But this is a good platform as well, and that's what we chose to use for these office hours and our other community initiatives that we have on the Academy.
Mm-hmm. So. Oh, great question, Jesse. Thank you. All right. Matt's asking if you have any recommendations yet around Ignite sessions. He said he's not seeing too many Intune sessions so far.
I believe we shared last week there was an Intune guide to the sessions at Azure. It was from the ConfigMgr folks that shared it. I remember writing it in the newsletter as well that is going out tomorrow morning. Put that one in there. see if I can find that link real quick. I just looked at it this morning, so here we
I
are.
think oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, see if I can share my screen again. This would be the one. And then there are a few theater sessions as well in addition to this, but this is the Intune session that had been published so far. I expect that to be a few more showing up as time goes by. And then there are sessions that are like closely related to it. So I will start there. I think all the breakout sessions are available live stream also, or pre-recorded and then broadcasted during the conference. The demos and labs, of course, you have to kind of be there to take advantage of, but also the theater sessions that are only on the on-premises. It's only here in Chicago, and there are probably 200 of those, give or take.
Awesome. All right. So Matt's also got a question here around Windows updates. I have a client where some devices are not getting updates when looking at Windows Update Handler.log. It's not showing the device requiring any updates, and sometimes we have to wait hours to see that in Windows Update Handler than in Update Store.log. Any idea why this might be happening and how to solve that?
I mean, this seems to be a more or less of an ongoing discussion. I don't think there goes a day without us seeing a thread or a comment in a thread on Twitter or X around clients and updates not arriving, or too many updates arriving, or anything in between. There was a big thread going on earlier today. I think it was Ryan Engstrom, who works for a higher ed organization or K-12 education, that we're seeing devices being targeted with the 24H2 version of Windows 11, which is great if that's what you want. In this case, it wasn't, so he wanted the 23H2 version, and we're trying to figure out why that was. And the long answer is Windows updates, as it is right now, where we have ConfigMgr and group policy and Intune policies, Windows Update for Business, it's extremely complicated, to put it mildly. And if you have conflicting policies, you get very interesting results. I was reading one thread where a gentleman had contacted Microsoft support about the wrong updates was being offered from Intune, and learning that in addition to setting the feature update policy, we also needed to set two other policies that were only found in the settings catalog. That's not something I stumbled across before, so that could be a new behavior also. So I have to look into that, but it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, we have shared money resources over the years, over the 2 years we've been doing this, on how to make sure you have the right policies, and how you can implement the reports to figure out how you're doing on that. Because that's probably what it comes down to. Conflicting stuff on the client that confuses the Windows Update agent to do the right thing. Anything you'd like to add, Cruiser?
No, I don't think so. Like you said, Windows updates is always it's ongoing battle.
Yeah.
But no, nothing that's helpful to Matt there. No. Right. Got a question here around Company Portal on an Intune. On Intune enrolled devices, is it possible to make Company Portal apps fully available to other users on the same device without removing the primary assigned user? Been thinking about that a little bit since I saw the question. So if you point to a device, if you assign to a device, it's going to be a required app, right? If you do available to the device, company portal is going to look at that primary user. So I don't know if I have a great, in most of the testing that I've been thinking of in my mind, most of what I've been doing does have a primary user. And I don't know that I've ever actually logged in as another user that isn't primary. I can try. Let's see. Have you been in that situation, Johan?
Probably, but I don't have anything that comes to mind about it.
Yeah.
There are some threads available on Reddit on the topic, but basically saying that only devices with no primary users show all applications for all users. That's kind of what the question is about here.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I do not know.
Where's my notepad?
Here, piece of paper you can write on.
Thank you.
Decided to throw the paper on the floor also. Yeah, I can show the thread I was reading on the topic. It was this one here, but it was pretty much the discussion here, and this is about 2 years ago. But we can share this link and see if it brings any ideas to mind, but I haven't stumbled across it.
Yeah, same.
Or if I have, I forgot about it. That comes with the age.
All right. So I think Akosh's question here is a follow-up to the prior question about features on demand. Can I force the process pulling the content to the clients? Client settings and GPOs are configured and working, but the download still takes hours.
Making sure that the DO settings, if the updates are coming down through DO, is not throttling too much. I have seen that downright breaking feature update downloads. Smaller packages, it's usually kind of forgiving, even if you throttle it heavily. But these larger updates that are several gigs in size, it is not very forgiving. And it doesn't help that if you have a ConfigMgr environment and doing UUP updates, there is some sort of internal proxying going on in between the client, basically serving itself content, and it's hard to troubleshoot.
Yep. All right. Matt's asking if we have any more information on config refresh and config lock in Intune. Not that, nothing that we haven't shared. I know on the, I believe on the config refresh side, that's something that you just set in the settings catalog. On the configuration lock, that does have to be like a custom CSP. But I have not actually deployed it in my lab or anything like that.
I remember, I think it was Rudy did a post on it. There is also one by Kevin. I think he is working at Microsoft. Yeah, he works for Microsoft. I can share that one. This one here. That's a good read on the topic. And well, it's been available now since the summer. For, Windows 11.
Indeed. And then the configuration lock side of things, there is a just the standard learn doc that has all of the licensing requirements and the custom CSP that you have to put together in order to turn that on. So we'll share this as well.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Ed's got a question for us over on YouTube. Is there a way to tell what devices are online in Intune?
Well, you can see when they checked in last time, but it doesn't have like a fast channel in the same way as a ConfigMgr has. So to my knowledge, there is no like these are online like the second option.
Oh, I'd agree with that. Basically, just rely on last check-in or last sync time.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Any ideas on how to fix a delivery optimization issue when deploying software updates via ConfigMgr? When deploying the October cumulative updates, a machine is encountering an error saying DO, download of a file saw no progress within the defined period. I've tried uninstalling the CM client, recreating software distribution directory, making sure the update service URL alternate registry key exists, etc. And this issue persists. Any ideas on how to solve that or where to look?
Not without diving into that. Nothing from the top of my head, no.
Right. Yep. And when it comes to DO, I'm probably asking you.
I mean, there are a lot of folks that are stumbling into that particular error, but
It's almost like, I don't know, their error message reads like a networking thing potentially. But I could be totally off base about that.
I mean, there are some troubleshooting scripts you can download that Microsoft put together also. They recently made some updates for those. Our friends over at MS Endpoint Manager, if I bring up that screen, they put together some guidance around it. The challenge is when using ConfigMgr for the updates, because it's not like a regular download from Microsoft Update, like if it was an Intune managed device or a patch, it behaves differently. ConfigMgr generates these fairly large update packages. They are like 10, 11 gigs in size. That sometimes is coming down to the clients, all of it. That contains, everything basically. But there are some troubleshooting tips down here in the bottom of this post, so maybe start there.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of follow-ups here on the online Intune clients. So there's some comments here in the chat. Use last check-in plus InfoSec tools console, not exactly real time, but close. 1E has a product that may be able to show online devices, but you have to pay for that. And then Ed did follow up saying, I guess I could bulk sync and see which devices get a new sync time. Agreed, you could do that, but just be aware that when you do start bulk syncing devices, especially if you're forcing a request for a device to bulk sync, you will end up getting throttled. And that was something that I heard multiple times last week from Microsoft directly. You may not notice it right away, if at all, but you will. Your tenant will end up getting throttled with Graph. So officially not recommended to do that.
But it's basically like having a config manager server with like 60 million clients and configure them to run a hardware scan every 5 minutes. It's like not good.
Yeah.
Like not even looking for policy that frequently would be good. In fact, 60 million clients of a config manager service is probably pushing it also a little bit.
Yep.
But Intune is a shared service. That's why Microsoft have these longer sync times, the 8 hour by default. And sure, for testing and troubleshooting, you force syncs more frequently, much more frequently. But you can't have that going all the time because then, as Andrew said, you will get throttled.
I don't think I've ever heard them say that many times. It was a common thread last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I get it. People are they're used to config manager. They're used to things happen fairly quickly, and then they move over to Intune, and now it doesn't, and they want to have it back to the way it was. So
exactly.
Hopefully, over time, Microsoft will improve on this. We have seen some policy changes already. For example, for the endpoint EPM product, where they sync more frequently than regular policies. So we'll see.
Yep. All right. Terry has a question here around provisioning packages. Experimenting with provisioning packages. The only delivery method I've seen is to use a USB stick or a file share. Is there a way to make them available in my tenant, or is that not the correct use?
So provisioning packages are used primarily in, for the out-of-box experience of the device. That was like the initial use case for it. Over time, since we have staged them differently. For example, if you do mass enrollments or autopilot having to take a nosedive for the day and you still need to enroll devices, you can create provisioning packages and you use a sequence to stage them, but you stage them in the WinP phase before the machine boots up in Windows or reboots back into Windows, which it does here, because then the package will be in the right spot already and being used. And technically, you can have that package anywhere. It could be on a web server somewhere. You can have a PowerShell script early on, downloading that package, inject it, tell Windows this is where it's at. I mean, these scripts are not very fancy at all. It just runs the dism command to apply it, in this case, offline. You can add a line before here that, download this first and then smack it in. So there are options available to staging packages. You can get creative.
All right. I see a comment here from Matt that I may have missed. Something about normal security updates, not 24H2. I'm not sure. Did you see a comment that I missed, Johan?
No, but how could you? No, I don't see
That's
it
fair.
either.
Okay. Matt, if there's a question I missed or something, maybe it didn't end up coming through on our end. If you don't, regarding that normal security updates, not 24H2, if you don't mind posting it again, it may just not be coming through on our end.
I have seen the chat channel sometimes like has a glitch in it, but
Yep. All right. So just a follow-up comment here on the company portal. When you do sign in with another user that's not primary, it will show this device is already assigned to someone in your organization. None of the required apps are available. And yeah, I understand. Sort of glad it's not too easy to solve that. Still seeing if it's possible will be fun. Yep. It's part of why so many of us love this career, right? So many things are a puzzle that we have to solve.
well, we won't be out of a job, put it that way. That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
You always remind me of that if I'm ever feeling down or stressed out. It always picks me up. So thank you for that advice.
Yeah, we need to have breakfast in the morning and dinner in the evening, and yeah,
Exactly.
food on the table.
Very important. Benny's got a question here. I have moved over from Software Center to Company Portal. Is it possible for Software Center to show a redirect or a message to end users to tell them to use Company Portal? And it's funny that you ask, Benny, because Jim O'Neill, Santos Martinez, and myself did a Company Portal session at MMS last week, and this topic kind of came up because I was going through what it looks like when you change client settings in ConfigMgr to show applications and task sequences in the company portal. But to your point, those applications and task sequences and everything do still show up in Software Center. But what I just found when you asked this question again was a blog post, a very clever way of getting around this, but a blog post from Johannes, who also, yes, do that. Thank you, sir. He is also very engaged in the WinAdmin's Discord server, by the way. But I just came across this blog post from him on this topic, and the way that he dealt with it was a fantastic little website here. You can see this is essentially the website. Hosted the website in an Azure storage blob, and then customized Software Center so that it would only show that tab. So when you go to Software Center, you see something like this. Very clever solution that I wish I knew about last week.
Yeah, that was pretty smart.
So now I'm going to go follow up with the attendees of that session as well, because this came up. So
you can actually, there is a function in Shed that the conference is using to shoot out an email to the people that were in the session. So that will be. And I just realized you knew that because you did it last year. Never mind.
Once or twice. But I do appreciate the reminder. Thank you.
Of course.
It's good teamwork right there. All right. Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea of this. That is a very clever solution, I must say. So let's see. So it looks like Matt's comment was maybe just in reference to the Windows Update handler question that he had. Some of the devices don't get updates. That was specifically around normal security updates, not 24H2 itself.
Well, for ConfigMgr updates, because the reference here was to a ConfigMgr client log. Microsoft do have a fantastic troubleshooting guide for those, like end-to-end troubleshooting. See if I can find that one real quick. Was one of the first guides they put together. They put together in the new learning platform that they had. Yeah, this link here, taking you through step by step what to look for. But this is the old one. Possibly. No, it may be for current branch.
Well, looks like it was just updated last year.
Yeah, no, this should be the right one. I was confused. They showed the original product version. I was like, wait a minute, this is not ConfigMgr 2012.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But here, basically, the different areas that you're interested in going through. Everything from the server side down to scanning of a client, log files to review, etc. I can swear I saw one that has a few more nodes. Let me do a quick little Google here. ConfigMgr docs, software update. So either they change it or my memory. Oh, it must be this one then. No, this is this same one I was at. Yeah, no. Check this one out and see if it. Just take back to the same post. So, all right.
All right. I've got a question here from Diego on updating devices through Intune. I have some devices that are failing to update through Intune. Don't worry, you're not alone, Diego. They previously had a GPO configuration, which has now been removed, but they're still not updating, even though they show they're getting policies from Intune. Any troubleshooting guidance, or have we encountered this before? Microsoft support helps to review the policies, but still no progress. Yes, we have come across this before multiple times. It feels like, maybe I'm being dramatic, Johan, but it feels like everyone we know that has gone through this journey where they had GPOs configuring software updates and moved to Intune has come across this on at least some set of their devices. So there are two blog posts that we usually reference. There is a super ultra deep dive from Ben Whitmore, which is fantastic, and I love this blog post, and I applaud the amount of effort that he put into this. Just had to have been a lot of time, seriously. And I would say this is sort of the de facto deep dive in co-management and sort of getting along that journey of moving your workload over to Intune. So this is one. And then another that I wrote a while back is a little bit more simplistic, but I found it to be quite effective. And this is basically a post that goes into, there are a number of registry keys that end up being set still, even after you've removed the GPO. Maybe they've been set by ConfigMgr or local policy or a GPO, and we need to set them back. So if these devices are still co-managed, I should say with that caveat, if they are still co-managed, you can use a CM pivot query here in order to check the values that are still set to 1. And then we can use a simple script to set those back to 0. So these are the two things that we normally recommend that hopefully will help you solve this.
So this is more the sledgehammer approach.
Yes. But sometimes you have to do it.
I mean, a hammer is kind of useful if you need to hammer down a nail. So, yeah.
That's right. I saw, too, Matt just made a comment about Patch My PC's new home updater.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's awesome. I mean, I've used for, like the kids' PCs and stuff like that, I've used the home updater for some time, but they did a major overhaul of it here over the last week. Even ended up picking up more applications than the prior home updater was picking up through a scan. I think they did a webinar on it today, maybe. It might have been today. But yeah, this is great stuff. Thanks for bringing that up, Matt.
Yes, it was today. This morning.
All right.
And they usually publish all their webinars up on their YouTube channel afterwards.
Yeah,
so,
usually a day or so.
So this one here. Oops. Fantastic.
Yeah.
This is really going back to their roots. I mean, that's practically where they came from.
Yep.
Early on, and now this is nice. All right.
Matt's got a question here about the MDM GPO. A client has configured the MDM GPO, and after a couple of days, it gets set back to not configured. Is that the auto enrollment GPO or the MDM wins over GPO setting?
Yeah, I don't quite get the scenario. I mean, there is a setting that's been around since early Windows 10, 1803 or something, where you can configure a MDM policy to win over a group policy. Problem is, it's per policy. And one policy that doesn't win, no matter what you do, is Windows Updates. It doesn't honor that policy. Hence the problem, or problems.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to need more detailed about that one.
All right. Yeah, Matt, if you could just specify a little bit more on if that's like the auto enrollment GPO or something like that, that would be great. While we're waiting on that, Ed's got a question here. Going through hybrid join auto enroll migration, about 3% of devices don't enroll. Any deep dive guides to troubleshoot this? And then there are a number of errors that are showing up here. And then ultimately, MDM was blocked, possibly by group policy or the local management agent. I'm trying to think of troubleshooting guides around that.
One thing that comes to mind, but it probably exists. mean, the event log is your friend in terms of enrolling or troubleshooting enrollment issues. There's also a few troubleshooting scripts that can be of assistance. Mainly use those together with autopilot. But I would be extremely surprised if Rudy did not have any guides on his website.
Yeah, I actually just came across a Reddit post that is talking about some similar issues. If you don't mind sharing my screen, Johan.
Not mine at all.
So not sure if this will totally resolve the issues, but the post does have some good conversation around some of the things that users were seeing, and the percentages looked pretty similar. 95% smoothly enrolled into Intune, but then the other 5% we get some of these errors. So it looks like, just very briefly looking at this post, so we'll make sure that we share it. A lot of it is around maybe MFA, or at least verifying some things in MFA. And then if I scroll down a little bit further, Rudy, in fact, replied himself with his troubleshooting Intune MDM enrollment errors blog post. So this may be some additional information, Ed, that you hadn't come across yet. Hopefully this is helpful. I'll make sure we share this link this evening. All right. Matt did follow up too that it was about auto enrollment. So client has the MDM auto enrollment GPO configured, and then after a couple of days, it goes back to not configured.
Yeah, that I have not seen.
Oh, I think you're still muted.
I think you're right. Just saying that Ed confirmed and said thank you for the thread there.
Awesome.
All right, we still have a whole minute left for any questions. All right, then. I don't see any other questions in the queue here, but everyone, fantastic to be back. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Andrew, for joining. We'll see you guys back hopefully next week. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Johan, and thanks everyone for joining. Have a great one.